can I say about Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1? Alright, this movie stars Jennifer Lawrence, Liam Hemsworth, Philip Seymour Hoffman in one of his last roles. Here's the thing about this movie. This movie is a Part 1. Yeah, Part 1. You will leave unsatisfied. I guarantee you will leave this movie unsatisfied because it's a Part 1. The second part, where all the shit goes down, is going to be in another movie. Okay? This movie is fine. This movie is okay. It's good. It's a good movie for what it does, which is setting up the second movie. If you don't mind watching a half of a movie, which is basically what you're going to go do, then you will love this movie. Me, I like this movie, but I did not love this movie. As in that it is not a movie. A movie has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It had a beginning and a middle. There was no end. It just set up for what was going to happen before. It didn't even have like a partial end. It was more like it was almost like turning off any movie you've ever watched halfway through the movie. Nobody wants to do that, right? I mean, I don't. I don't want to turn off a movie halfway through. I want to see what happens, right? Well, no. What if you had to turn off a movie halfway through and then you had to wait another, however long it's going to be, 8 months, till the next one comes out? That's not exactly something I'm in for. Are you? Not me. Are you? Not me. Okay? There was times in this movie that it just kept dying. Like the momentum would die and then it'd kind of pick back up again. If you're going to this movie for action, you will be let down. That's not a problem with the movie. It's on how you go into the movie. I did not go into the movie expecting a lot of action. I went into this movie expecting to see part 1 of a movie. So I went in with my expectations. It met my expectations. It was part 1 of a movie. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It's just how the setup goes, okay? Much like Harry Potter did with the Deathly Hallows, and the problems that part 1 has of Deathly Hallows is the same thing you have in the Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 1. The movie is only as good as that it sets up the second one. So let me talk about the good stuff about this movie. Katniss is not your typical heroine or hero in this movie. She's very much a piece of a larger whole. She's not about leading warriors into battle or, you know, having these great ideas of like a better future, anything like that. She basically just wants to exist. She's definitely plagued by the first 2 Hunger Games in this movie. Who she was at the beginning of the first movie is not who she is now. She has nightmares. She's a real person. You feel like she exists. It's not a war movie. You can tell it's a setup for something big to come. Now, I've not read the books, okay? I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just basing it on the movie, which I like to do anyway, because when you see it, when you read a book and then you see the movie, you compare the movie to the book constantly. And you shouldn't. The movie is a different media. It's a different interpretation of the story. If I watch a movie and I read a book, I don't try and compare the book to the movie, or vice versa. As they shouldn't be. You shouldn't be like, oh, well, it would have been better if they had this. Well, I don't know that, and I'm glad I can see a movie without basing it on the book. It leaves you more open to the movie as a whole, as a story it's telling you, and not as the adaptation that people think that it should be. It's based on a story that you've read. Okay, so this whole complaint about it being based on a book or that it's not like the book in this way or whatever is moot at this point. Just judge the movie as a whole, okay? I don't understand why you'd be flipping out about it. Some of the good things I really liked about this movie was the way that it did set up, granted it was in the next movie, but it did set up what was going to happen. You felt as though Katniss was a kind of like a pawn in a bigger game. She's very much a symbol in that she's not about, you know, gung-ho, let's take down the Capitol, which is what you may expect in these types of movies. I really liked how she was not like that. She kind of had to be coaxed into even being the symbol that people think that she is. But even in that aspect, the Capitol also has a pawn too, and it's PETA, and that is the kind of part that I liked. I liked how this was very much, it's very much a chess game. This movie is a chess game setting up for part 2. Again, I haven't read the books, so I don't know what's going to happen. But from what I've seen, I expect some shit to go down in part 2. Much like in Deathly Hallows Part 2, where all the shit went down, part 1 just sets it up. It's kind of like I said, it's very much a chess game between these groups of people, and that they each have their symbols, and they each have ways of going about fighting each other. They both have arsenals of weapons. They both have. It's kind of like Russia and America in the Cold War. They have fingers on the buttons to nuke each other at any time. Like, they both have the arsenal. It's all about fighting in a way in which they don't destroy everything, and that's kind of I like that. I like that idea of you know, it's not just I can blow you up. Okay, well, it's more than just about blowing up. It's also about getting people to your side, your way of thinking. Your way of thinking is what's going to win battles, not weapons. President Snow, who is the president of the Capitol, he is a messed up individual, and that he does not care. He could end Katniss's life multiple times in the entire series. Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. He has the power to just crush her as a symbol and a person. She should have been killed so many times. You can tell that President Snow is just toying with her. He must be bored out of his mind the way that he just like tortures this girl. I don't know if like he never got asked out in high school or some shit. Like, I don't know what his problem is, but he's definitely messing with her on a like a personal level. Like, I don't really know exactly what he's trying to do. I don't know if it's poor writing and that they wrote themselves into a hole in some spots. But I prefer to think that they didn't do that, and it's just him as a character, as a person. He just wants to mess with people, specifically her for whatever reason. I don't know why. So I hope the second part addresses that. I hope the second part points out why he didn't, or at least explains a little bit further why he didn't just like kill her at all these times when he had the opportunity to do so. So my ranking for this is going to be 7 hungry hippos out of 10. You know that this movie is not bad. Really, I should be giving it 6 hungry hippos. I'm going to give it 7 just because I know it's just setting up. But I really should minus more points just for the simple fact that it's not a complete movie. You know what? F it. 6 hungry hippos. That's exactly what this is going to get. I'm going to minus points because it's just not a whole movie. This is literally a movie that you can't wait until it comes out on DVD, Blu-ray, digital copy, all the other ways to watch this movie. Then watch it right before you go and see part 2. That's how this should happen. I can't in all honesty recommend going to see this movie in theaters just because you're not getting a whole movie. You're getting a part 1 of a movie. And it's not the fault of the movie. It's the fault of the setup. It's the fault of Hollywood wanting to split things into more but just you could have made this into one movie. Granted, it might have been kind of long, but Lord of the Rings did it too. I mean, you could have made this in a one movie, or even if it had a close to 3-hour runtime, that would have been fine. It would have been more complete. It's just part 1 of a movie. It's why it's got such a low score. The movie as a whole is fine. If they would have combined this into a 3-hour movie, part 1 and 2 into one movie, it would have gotten a way higher score, I know. But it's just as it sits, it's so incomplete. And I think they know that. They have to know that. There's no way they cannot know that. But so 6 hungry hippos out of 10.